This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 163, recorded on April 17th, 2014. Here at Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all your favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in Bellevue, Nebraska. Awesome day in Bellevue. I went out and ran this evening. No wind and about 55 degrees. It was awesome. And, of course, we post the show each week with world-class show notes out at the AverageGuy.tv. If you have questions, comments, or contributions, you can contact the show. Send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv, and I get a few of those from you, so that's great. Send them in to me. You can find me on Twitter at jcollison, or call in your questions if you'd like us to. This is what I'd like you to call in. So if you have show ideas, the other day I was talking about, we've kind of changed the program format a little bit where we're doing more interviews, and Ernesto said, one of the listeners, he said, man, I really miss those days when you guys used to cover topics. We did home networking, and we did that for 3 or 4 shows and those kinds of things. So if you want us to cover some particular topic that way, call it in to me, 402-478-8450, and we'll play that right here on the program. And now Home Gadget Geeks is a part of the Geeks Network, one of the reasons why we changed the names. And by the way, if you're wondering why we changed to Home Gadget Geeks, go back to Gadget Geeks 162. I talk about that for a few minutes. Go back and listen to that. You can find the links to this show and many other great shows, although those links don't work at the moment, at the Gadget Geeks Network. Is that what it is? Yeah, the GadgetGeeksNetwork.com.
You're going to get a big sticker over your monitor saying it.
I know. Yeah, I was like, that doesn't sound right. Join us in chat, watch or listen live, find all the navigation that you ever need. Because we have Live and Live 2. So Live 1, or just Live, is optimized for the PC. Live 2 is optimized for your tablet. Love to have you join us live on the phone, on your tablet, on your PC, Thursday nights, right now, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, at the AverageGuy.tv. All right, well, we got 2 of the 3 guests coming in. We've invited the entire crew from JPEG to RAW out tonight. I've been pumped about this podcast for a while, just because we're going to talk about photography, and I know nothing about it, and we're going to kind of focus on the tech of photography. So Sess will join us later. He'll jump in here. But all the way to my left, and the guy kind of behind the voice of JPEG to RAW, Mike Howard. Mike, how are you?
Doing great. Glad to be here on National High Five Day.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I didn't find out about it till I left work, so I missed all those high five opportunities.
Give me a virtual
boom, there you go. National High Five Day.
Nicely done. And then sitting next to him, and the guy, he's probably Mr. Show Notes for JPEG to RAW. That's Tim Kemperly. Tim, welcome.
Thank you very much. Going to be a little bored not typing notes tonight.
Yeah, what are you going to do with
I might actually have to talk.
It'll be good. Well, you've got plenty of time to do that.
I did want to mention one other thing. So somebody who probably won't be giving me a high five is my wife. I forgot when I booked tonight that this was our 21st wedding anniversary. So I know she's not listening, but hey.
Yeah, she's not going to ban me from talking to you ever again, is she?
No, she's good. After 21 years, he won't do anything.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help that.
Nicely done, Tim. Nicely done.
Yeah, we're all good.
Well, Mike, thanks for coming on, even on your 21st wedding anniversary. We always here at the Collison House, we never celebrate those days on their actual days.
Right.
It's too busy or things are going on. A Thursday night is an odd night anyway, so we would move that to Friday. Sounds like you're probably gonna.
That's what we're going to do.
Yes. On a different time. So very good. Well,
that
thanks,
was my plan all along.
That's right.
After I realized what I'd done.
Exactly. Well, thanks for coming on tonight, guys. And, of course, JPEG to RAW, jpeg2raw.com, and Mike, Tim, and Sess do a really good job with it. It's the number one, right? You're the number one photography podcast?
Based upon my criteria, yes, it is the number one, what did I say, weekly live broadcasted photography show with a chat room.
There you go. Maybe the only one that fits all that criteria. No, you guys get, if you're out there, you get a quiet, and it depends on the guest, right? From time to time, you get the chat room can be really full, or it can be kind of more like us, 10 or so in the chat room. But you're on Tuesday nights
Tuesday nights, 8:30 Eastern.
30 Eastern. Okay, and man, Tuesday nights started to stack up now. That's gotten really busy.
Hey, somebody else thought they could have our night, but that's all right.
Yeah.
We are killing them on YouTube.
I'm sure. Sure, there's plenty of other podcasters using Tuesday night, but
Yep.
it does happen to fall on Dave McCabe moved a home server show to Tuesday nights, and
So
Dave's a
Dave,
listener.
check out YouTube numbers and
Dave is
take a look.
well, Mike. You're going to throw it on. Dave does listen to the show, so
there you go.
boom.
That's why he's saying it.
I know. So Dave, go out and check the YouTube numbers. Mike's had a nice run over at JPEG to RAW, and you guys have really covered for our listeners that may not make it over there. You don't necessarily have to be a pro, right? I mean, you guys don't just cover pro stuff, right?
Exactly. The show started off with the thought of the beginner, the person who's just getting their DSLR, like the camera where you can change the lenses. So it started off that way. We kind of have gotten off of that topic and interview mainly more professional photographers now. But we have a wide mix of people who are pros, people who are just getting into it, people who are more like maybe Tim and I, who see it as a hobby that we really like to do. We might spend a lot of money on gear, but we have no desire to ever become a pro.
No desire whatsoever. I mean, after talking to a lot of our guests, you realize everything that is involved with it, and you probably wouldn't make any money unless you'd have to quit your job and really go full into it, and then you realize all the other parts of the business that you actually have to run, whether it's taxes, covering all of your expenses, and it's not just the making the money on a shoot, it's everything else associated with it, all that overhead that a lot of people at the beginning don't realize, and then they falter after that, and then they realize maybe they can't raise their rates, they're not too competitive. It's a hard business to get into.
You guys talk a lot about rates a lot. It seems like every time I'm on there, that is a topic of discussion, and maybe I'm just missing it. But Tim, let me ask you. You're the show notes guy, so you're writing this stuff down a lot. What do you think is the number one question that you get from the show? Is there one that just kind of stands out?
No, I don't know if there is I mean, definitely if we have a professional, that question does get asked invariably in the chat. People say, how much do they charge, and how do they come up with what they do charge? So that does come up along with what camera gear you use. That's probably the number one question. But after that, yeah, Mike, would you agree that that's the question that comes up a lot?
Yeah, I think the thing is the barrier to entry is fairly low. I mean, a lot of people have DSLRs. You get them for other reasons. I got mine to shoot my kids' sports, so you get them for those other reasons. So you already invested in the gear, so the barrier to entry to go from that to start charging people is pretty small. So I think everybody who's trying to make what they call a living off of it is struggling with what to charge. We did talk about on Tuesday, that was tax day, April 15th, is a good time to look at, are you really making a living? Could you pay your bills, your mortgage, your food, all that kind of stuff with the money you're making, or are you just covering the cost of your equipment? Because if you're just covering the cost of your equipment and you don't see it going anywhere, then you're just think of it more of a hobby and get off of that thought that this is something you're going to be doing as a pro. It really is. It's a business. You talk to anybody who's successful at doing it as a business, and they will tell you that it is. And I'm going to just make up percentages here, but it's around this: 80% business, 20% photography.
Yeah, it's like anything. It's you really gotta I've been thinking about this concept a lot lately, and people say to themselves all the time, oh, I wish I could do what I love to do. That's kind of the magic, the perfect job, right? Oh, so Tim, we'll take you for example. You and I all three of us, are just business professionals, and you'd be like, oh, it would be great to do photography as a living. When it becomes for a living, the rules change.
Absolutely. Right? I could not go to my wife and say, you know what, I think I'm going to quit my job of 30 years and start doing photography. I mean, I shot a wedding years ago. I got asked by a friend to do a wedding. Man, let me tell you, the stress I had doing that wedding, and now I didn't even have to do. I didn't have the church. They had already had a ceremony prior to it. It was just the reception. I was so nervous. Now I probably undercharged for that, but it was a great experience. Could I do that for a living? Man, I don't know. That was a lot.
Yeah.
And let me say one more thing before you move on. Is when I was a few years back, when I first getting into photography, I got hired by a company who was doing soccer photography, who was doing sports. So I would go out and shoot on Saturdays, 10, 12 hours a day. Sundays about another 6 to 8 hours. And in the first year, I loved it. I was doing it during the soccer season, and getting a little bit extra money to buy gear with, it was just fantastic. By the second and the third year, it felt like a job. I already have one of those. So I personally do not want my hobby that I have a passion for to feel like work.
Yeah. Well, I see Sess and I hear Sess now. So Sess, let's bring you in Sess White. Sess, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
All right,
How's
very
everyone doing?
cool. Very good. Good to see you again. I haven't talked to you in a
All
while.
right. Yeah, it's been a long while.
I know it's been too long. We need to get you back on the new Home Gadget Geeks a little more often.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw a new logo on Stitcher. I said, this isn't what I'm used to, but same great show. So
Did
there you
that
go.
update in Stitcher for you?
Yeah. Oh, no, not both logos. Like
Yeah.
I see one place, I see a different one another place. So
It is. It takes Stitcher's weird that way. It's not.
Yeah.
It hasn't quite updated. iTunes has.
okay.
And of course, the site has. So I was into. That's one of those things. I'm gonna have to email Stitcher and say, hey, how do I change my logo? On there. But so we were talking about taking a hobby, photography, for a lot of you. Sess, you dabble in a lot of stuff, and I've kind of got this feeling that sometimes we think this dream job is to take our hobby and turn it into a job, and I think that actually ruins it.
It does. It does in some ways. Yeah, you got to be really careful about that.
Yeah, you do, because it adds accountability. And the reason it's so fun, right? The reason we all let's just take photography for example. The reason I think a lot of you guys like photography is because you can shoot whenever you want, and the pictures don't, you're not selling them, and the pressure's off, and it's just, well, as soon as you're trying to make money, then all of a sudden every shot becomes critical, or every decision becomes critical, or like Tim, like you said, you go to shoot that wedding, and it's a lot of stress, and you're like, oh, I used to do this just for fun, but as soon as money gets involved, that's why
it's a once in a lifetime shot. You think about a wedding.
You could really mess it up.
Yeah. Have some people hate you.
Yeah.
You'd never get hired, and then now you quit your job, and you never get hired in that.
Sess, I know you've got some endeavors going on, but photography for you, where is it at from a job or hobby standpoint?
Okay, so I have three main jobs, main right now. Really just three jobs. I'm the media guy for my church. I'm staff for that. I'm Air National Guard, and then photography is kind of. I hate to say that it's what I do more. Well, it is. It's what I do more than any of those. So like May, for example, booked out with weddings. So I mean, it's just that is our core of our household right now is what we're piecing together. So it's still it's growing, but it's substantially more than it was as far as income goes.
But you feel that pressure, right, when you're going to a shoot in a wedding and they're paying you big bucks to do this, and it's not necessarily fun, right? It's not like it used to be, right, when you just go shoot. I mean, they're depending on you to get some really good shots.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly, and I know exactly what you're saying with when you change something that is originally it's just fun, and then you add that accountability piece to it, that responsibility piece to it, then it becomes, well, now you have these obligations and stuff. But so for my wife and I really had to just kind of hone in and switch it, because I just kind of buckled down and got focused and said, hey, this is what I want for myself. This is what I want for our family. So how do I turn this thing that was just fun, then it became a job? How do I keep the job fun?
Right.
So as far as wedding goes, for example, we didn't have a wedding photographer. So I treat each of those weddings like it's my own. All the shots that I wish I had, and I'm just kind of reliving it with them, but I'm still keeping that tech mind at the same time. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. No, but it's one of those things that's been scary for me as I've started podcasting at work, and now it's become popular.
Job.
Yeah, it really is. I'm spending at least a third of my time, if not more, maybe some weeks up to a half. I'll have probably done this week. I'll probably put in 15 hours in podcasting this week.
Wow.
And so you go, and then all of a sudden the expectations ramp up, and we got done with the show on Tuesday. I had an email. So how many were on the show, Jim?
Yeah.
They want numbers right away, numbers.
Right. How many were watching live? And I'm like, well, 50, which is still great, right?
Right.
But live.
Somebody's going to start to do a chart on that.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. You know that'll be coming.
It just changes it. It's a good topic. A lot of the listeners here on the show, and if you're listening to this, I get about 1,000 downloads a week. So it's about 1,000 people who listen to this. You might be working in a tech job, and tech was really fun, and then you started working it, and then it's like, no, maybe this isn't as fun, and it's not that way for everybody. But maybe you could call in your experience. So if you're working in that hobby that you love to do, and maybe it's tech, let me know how that's going. Call that in 402-478-8450. Just leave a message. We'll play that on the show. I just love to get some feedback from you on how that's working. All right, we promised some photography tech, so we'll although this is a great conversation, guys, and I appreciate that, because it is one of those things for all of us and for the demographic that I reach. We all have full-time jobs of some kind, and then we have these hobbies.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they blend together, and sometimes they don't.
And I think our first piece of photography tech, we have a controversy.
Oh, good. Let me.
I think
it's Tim. I think because of the way this is, Tim should go first.
Okay, so I want to talk about, you guys have flash drives here, and so as we talk about, I mean, for you guys, those, not flash drives, but yeah,
media cards,
right?
Right.
The drives. Why is that?
Secure digital or compact flash? What have you?
Yeah.
The cards, the memory that you put in these cameras, right? That's super important, because if it doesn't work, you're screwed, right? All those pictures you took don't make it over. Tim, you had some notes in here about the cards, just some ideas.
Yeah, and I think really what you want to look for, and this is my opinion, obviously I think Mike is going to disagree with it, is you want to find out what the fastest card is that your camera can handle. And when I talk about that, it's talking about how fast it uploads the picture you took to the card itself, so the card isn't a detriment to taking your next picture. Because every once in a while, if you take a picture, you'll see on the most cameras it'll have a little green light saying, and it'll see that the drive is working, which means it's actually processing the data to the card. Mm-hmm. So you want to get the fastest one that your camera can handle. If you get one that's faster than your camera can handle, you're just throwing money out the window. And I equate that to using gas in a car. If you use premium gas in a car that only requires regular, you're wasting money. Your car doesn't run any better by using premium. It runs the same. So that's my part of this. I think what Mike is probably going to say, it probably helps you for downloading later on. But
Tim, how does the average guy know that? How does he know that his card is the right card for the camera?
Well, I think there's a couple of places you can look at that. One is, first of all, the manual that you have with the camera. The other place is there's a website that I go to, dpreview.com, which is Digital Photography Review, and they probably have just about every camera that's out there, and they will tell you within there what class camera card you should use, and that's the one I would recommend. And granted, if you're thinking of switching cameras in a couple of years, you might say, well, I'll get a faster card. More likely than not, in 2 or 3 years, the card that you spent $100 on is probably going to be $30. So it's going to be a lot cheaper in a couple of years.
Good point. That's a very good point. I was actually in my mind, I was going to say, well, you're future proofing. But if you already have that slower camera, then by the time you have the faster camera, like you said, it'll be cheaper. So
it's going to be a lot. Those memory cards go down so fast in price.
Yeah.
1 year later, it's a big difference.
Hey, memory is cheap right now.
Oh, it's just plummeting, right?
Yeah.
Price. Tim, would the manual also tell you how much the card will?
Well, it'll tell you what size, whether it's a 16 gigabyte card or 8 gigabyte or 32 gigabyte. Now they even went up to 128 gigabytes. I don't think my camera can hold 128 in there, so you got to find out. You don't want to buy one that's more than your camera can hold.
Can handle, yeah.
And that is a thing that's a controversy right there, is the size of the card. Because some photographers will say, I want more smaller cards because I'm putting all my eggs in one basket on that card. If something were to happen during the shoot and that card got corrupted and I had a massive card, let's say I'm doing a wedding, and I can shoot the entire wedding on one card because it's got such a big one, that card got corrupted, I could lose everything. Or if I lost the card, I could lose everything. So some photographers will say, let me get a smaller one and get multiple ones of that. And that's a good argument. If you have a camera, some of the more modern cameras, and if you're a pro wedding photographer, you probably have this, they can put 2 cards in the camera at one time. And what I would do personally is not use them as overflow, is use them as redundant. So every image goes to both. So the
camera dictates that, whether it's redundant or whether it's overflow?
The cameras that can handle 2.
Would be an option.
The cameras that can hold 2 cards,
so it's like a RAID for the camera?
It basically is, yeah. It's like a RAID 1 or whatever for the camera.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It gives you the option to you can select that in the menu whether you want it to copy or just overflow.
So with that, I would again get a big card. I personally have a 32 gig, which is good for my camera. If you have a camera like the D800, which shoots at 36 megapixel, heck, I might go to 64 gig.
Even if the camera doesn't support it?
Well, the camera doesn't support it. You don't want to do that because then it won't work. So
Yeah.
Tim
No,
is.
but I mean, you get a bigger card than so if your camera, because there's a certain amount the camera supports, right?
Yeah, we're talking about two things. One speed and one is capacity.
Correct.
So if the capacity, if the size of the card is something your camera won't support, then don't get that. But and Tim hit on some of the key points that I was going to counter with. I want to get as fast as a card as I can within reason. You look at the pricing of cards and like the Extreme Pro versus the next step up in the Extreme Pro and the SanDisk. I like SanDisk.
So do I.
Yeah, I'm a SanDisk. I like that.
Yeah, so you might have a large price jump. So I might come one down from the top to get that good price range. But I'll go with a card that is as fast as I can afford. So back when I got it, I got the Extreme. I don't know if that's going to come in focus.
Yep, perfect.
32 gig Extreme Pro. It's a 90 megabit per second. Heck, can my camera keep up with that or not? I don't know. But where it helps out is when I go to get a new camera, because I will 32 gigs. I'll keep this for at least one more version of camera. So I will, that. And if my currently camera can't keep up with the speed, the next one can. It makes a big difference because one of my first cards was this, and if I put this on my camera now, it is noticeably
you got about
slower.
3 shots, maybe? No.
Yeah, you're
way kidding.
The other thing, even if your camera can't keep up with it, if it's faster than the camera can keep up with, and personally, I want to go a little bit faster, so I'm never waiting on the card. The camera's going at max speed. You do get some benefit when you put it in your card reader at home and download the images.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That would be a benefit of at that point. And speaking of card reader for your home, make sure that you're getting a USB 3 if your computer can handle a USB 3 3.0 slot, because there will be a noticeable difference downloading at that point from a USB 2.0 to a 3.0.
Yeah, absolutely, 3.0. Or I guess if you're on Mac, I don't know if they have the Thunderbolt cards, readers, something like that.
I see, and I now I wish I was ready to upgrade because everything's so much faster than the computer that I have right now. But that's just kind of how it is. The best thing that's out there is the thing after what you just bought.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I even have so for something we're going to go on. I'll talk about later. This is really tiny.
Was that a?
Don't say what it's going to go into yet. But this is a SanDisk Extreme Plus 64 gigabyte micro
64 gig?
64 gig
micro SD.
Woo! Wow.
64.
Now that's what they use in your phones a lot of times.
Yeah, 64 gig, that little bitty thing.
I think that's just crazy that's small, because that is so easy. I mean, you think about how much the 64 gig card would hold and how easy that is to lose.
Well, it won't fit in my card reader. I first have to put it in this thing.
Right, you got to put it into an adapter.
Yeah, so I'll tell you later on what that goes into.
Yeah, can I backtrack for a second?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So you were talking about multiple cards. It's cool to be able to have those multiple cards, but how much easier is it to lose that piece of the wedding, right? Like for me personally, I like to have just a couple big cards. I can usually run a whole wedding off of a 32, and I have a backup 32 in case I'm shooting more like video on the side than I thought that I would be. So for me, I'm among the less cards crowd rather than the multiple cards crowd.
So I mean,
not the redundancy thing. I think that's great. I can't have that in the camera that I have as my main body, but my next one it will, and that's a great idea.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you, Seth. I have a large card, and I think out of all the people or things I've ever heard, only one card getting corrupted and losing the pictures. I mean, it doesn't happen. They've done tests where they've run it over by trucks, put it in water. Nothing happens to those cards.
Are you planning on getting run over by a truck or dunking in water?
You never know. You never know what happens. I live in New York.
Your family reunions are brutal, my friend.
It's rough.
I live in New York. You never know what happens here.
Oh yeah.
Any thoughts to backing up on site? So, in other words, so you take some photos, and before you pull that card out, and maybe you put it in something else. So you load that, a fresh card in. You put the used card in something else where it automatically starts backing it up. Is that a common practice at all on site? Just to make sure you're not losing data?
Yeah, we've had guests who do that kind of stuff, and I don't have an example of one now. Maybe I can look for it when someone else is talking. But it's basically a hard drive enclosure that has built-in USB ports or built-in card reader slots, that kind of thing. It's you can buy them with the drive already in it, or you buy and put a drive in it. And some of them have an LED readout so you can see the images you're putting in there. But it basically is just a hard drive, a portable hard drive that you can download these things to. Personally, unless I'm traveling where I'm not going to be able to get back to someplace, I would download the card to it, but then put the card off to the side and not write over it again for the rest of the trip if I could help it. Because I want to be able to get back home. And I don't travel a lot, so if you're a travel photographer, this is going to be different. But I want to get back home and do my normal backup procedure before I start deleting any files.
Several years ago, I was very close to doing that. I was looking at, I can't remember, I think it was Jobo or something was the name of the company that made something like that, because the memory was very expensive. And to buy extra cards would have really been expensive. But I didn't wind up doing it. Now the cards are so cheap, I don't think I would do that. And if I go away on vacation, when I go, let's say down to Disney, I usually bring a laptop and I'll back up the card at night to the hard drive right then and there.
Yeah, I guess. Go ahead, Seth. Sorry.
Well, I'm sorry. That's actually what we do in the Guard, in the International Guard. That's what we do in our shop. So we've got those things just like Mike was talking about. A little bigger than a phone, and you just kind of plug in your card or whatever, and it'll dump it. The ones that we have, they kind of take a little while, and so I guess you can do it and then put it in a bag somewhere and then shoot on another card. I don't know. I mean, it's a practice. Some people do it. We do it in the Guard. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking. It's kind of like, get done. I'm going to take this card. I'm replacing the cards. Let me make this redundant right now, and it can be running while you're still shooting. I was thinking a wedding. You're probably shooting for hours, right? 4 or 5 hours maybe. Yeah. And so you could be backing up that card just in case. And then you pull that card out, and you still don't write over it, right? You wouldn't write over it until you get home.
Right.
Yeah, but just have that on-site backup to make sure that you've got a second copy in case you do, like Tim wants to be run over by a truck or.
So, and then also what Tim was saying was, dumping it on a laptop if you can, because for the price that my unit paid for that little device, I forgot what you even call it, but to dump it in there, I could have gotten a small laptop. So I'm like, then if I have it on, I don't know. There are a lot of options,
Yeah, I guess the laptop would work. Most of those laptops come with the right ports. You can just have your laptop running, plug it in, have a set up to automatically. Windows or Mac both have the ability to automatically just copy it when you put it in there.
Yeah,
it'll copy it to the hard drive, and then you at least have a backup copy in case that card fails at some point. I
just put a link in chat to some of those portable drives.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, not in chat. I'm sorry, not in chat. Into the show notes.
In the show notes. Okay. Good. We'll throw those. Yeah, I was just thinking, man, I was taking these photos, and I would hate for anything to happen to any of them. It's kind of like my audio here, and I've gotten out of the habit of doing it. But if Google failed, if YouTube failed, I'd lose all this audio, right? I don't have any.
You're not recording local?
No, I stopped doing that.
Dude, I'd double record.
Oh, now, that's not true. I do now. We use Spreaker now, and so Spreaker is recording at least the audio portion of it. But I could still use Livestream and capture the video as a backup in case I had it. But I stopped doing that. But it is one of those things. I haven't been bitten in it for so long. It's about the time.
It's coming.
Yeah.
Well, that's what always happens. You get bit somehow. I mean, I think about when I got my Windows Home Server, it was because I lost a hard drive that had all my pictures on it, and thankfully my brother-in-law had stuck my the hard drive in a freezer to recover the pictures on there, and all I lost was the file names. So it's when something goes wrong, I wound up getting my home server. So
yeah, and I think that's a good transition into what I had for the next thing was something that's critical to all photographers is backing up. And if you listen to the JPEG to RAW, it's probably the thing I've preached about the most over the years is backup, backup, backup. CDs, DVDs, those are not backups. Those are you want to do that
those don't last that long.
Yeah. You want to do that as a fun little side project just for the heck of it, you can go right ahead. It's not a backup you can rely on. And the sad thing is every month I see photographers who come begging for help in one of the groups I'm in, that they've lost all their photos. So you got to have a solid backup plan. And to me, that means a local backup, your original, a local backup, and then an off-site backup using something like Crash Plan, which is what I use.
Yeah, Jimmy Drive, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you still use it?
Well,
does.
what is
I
it?
got
What is it? All right, I gotta ask because what is a Jimmy drive?
Oh, you missed the whole Jimmy Drive
Oh,
discussion?
that's a whole.
You
nother-
missed the wave, my friend.
Is
You're
the
on the
wave still
wrong
going?
side.
Is it still happening? Can you still?
I don't know how many of us are left.
Okay. Yeah.
I got to be honest. I really don't know how many other folks are using it right now. But I'm exploring some options.
Sure. Good.
Crash plan.
Good. Crash Plan would be a great one.
I probably should get in the crash plan. I have a hard
Mm.
drive that I replaced bringing to my father's house in another town, but that's
If you don't have bandwidth limits.
Oh, you go manual. That's full manual.
Sneaker backup.
And if you have caps on from your ISP, from your internet service provider, that you're gonna have to do something like that because your photos will use up all your bandwidth.
Yeah, but I don't have any limits, and my upload download is not an issue. It's lazy.
No reason for you not to be on Crash Plan.
So let's talk real quick. Hold on,
Uh,
Seth, before you jump into that. Let's
Yeah.
talk real quick
Yeah.
about equipment. So when we talk about storage, Tim, what are you storing them on locally? Obviously, you're taking them off site, but what kind of equipment to store your photos locally?
I store it on. Well, it's obviously all my pictures are stored on my main computer here. I have a separate removable hard drive bay that I store it on there. Plus, I have it on my Windows Home server backed up every night.
Okay, so you have 3 copies.
Right.
Mike, how about you?
And I also upload to websites. So that's
said-
also a backup like Flickr.
Oh, do they all go to Flickr?
Just the ones I want to keep generally go up there.
Okay, so the most important ones. Mike, how about you?
Just like Tim, I have it on my main computer where I'll download the cards, and I do something as soon as it comes off the card in Lightroom, it goes to 2 different places. So Lightroom has the ability to do a backup as it's pulling the images off the card. So I do that. So I have my main computer, then I have a server that's got some Mediasonic, and I just did a post in our forums about it. Mediasonic box, which is a little external box attached by USB 3 that's got hard drives in it, and it's a RAID enclosure. And for any photographers who are listening, they don't know what RAID is. It basically protects you from losing a drive.
A single drive in a group right now.
Right.
A RAID 5.
Yeah, RAID 5 in this case. And that server is running Crash Plan. So what happens is I download the images. I think Crash Plan within 15 minutes will start uploading those to Crash Plan. So however long that is, heck, but sometimes before the card is done downloading off my card, the images, Crash Plan is already starting to back them up onto the site, the internet.
And you don't have to do it right away with Crash Plan. You could, like, I've got mine limited between midnight and 6 a.m. And so it goes on those drives, and then overnight it starts backing up.
If you don't have it on a server like I have, if you only have one PC and you don't want to do a server like I am, because not everybody wants to do that,
Right.
then I would do something like that where it's using it on off hours. Maybe you got attached storage, and that's what's is your backup. Some photographers like Kathleen, who was a co-host on our show for a long time, she thought by having an external drive, and she had 2 of them sitting right on her desk, and that's where she put her photos, that was a backup because it was external. Backup means, in my mind, a backup means 3 copies: original, local copy, and offsite copy.
Absolutely.
Seth, how about you?
Yeah.
How are you
Man,
storing?
I am. Okay, so I've got 2-3 terabytes that I'm storing locally, and my cloud situation is pretty jacked up right now. It's because, to be perfectly honest, Jimmy Drive was going fine until I messed up something in my settings, and I've just been running so much that I just haven't caught up with it. So you guys are gonna chew me out. I know. I need to have it in multiple places. I know.
Spend the weekend and catch up, my friend.
I can't because I'm always shooting on the weekend.
I know.
Sometimes.
What I
it
think
happens. It happens. Go ahead, Mike.
What I think photographers, they discount one of the 2 of them, the local one or the remote one. And there's challenges on both, I understand. But the local one is your primary. If something you lose, you need to get back. If you edit something and somehow you saved over the file, and say you're not doing RAW, so you did a JPEG, you need to get that back. That local backup is where you go 99% of the time. Where you need to go to your offsite is because your house was flooded, it was burned down, somebody broke into your house and stole your stuff. Those type of things, no matter how good your local backup is, it's not going to protect you from those things.
Yeah. And RAID is not.
Now here's the issue, and you guys might be able to talk to the average guy about what happens when you're making too much content to upload into the cloud, because I mean, You know what I mean? So I'm just gonna talk about me for a second right now. You know, I've got these multiple photo projects, and then I have these 2 video projects going on at the same time. You know, I got like gigs and gigs of like just video alone, and then I've got all these raw files from weddings and portrait shoots, and you know, it's just it's hard to
So how much
when
do you
it
think
was
you have in size, Sess? How much, when we're talking data, how much you generate in a
yeah.
week, do you think?
A week or a month, yeah.
You have any idea?
Uh, golly. I don't know. I definitely can't say per month, but
Well, how many 32 gig
probably
cards would you take at a wedding? How many cards would you use?
I'm gonna fill a card. I'm gonna fill a card at a wedding. So you know, every weekend, every other weekend, at least every weekend in May, I'll be filling at least one 32 gig card. And then so when I'm out on these video projects, like kind of per visit for a documentary, probably filling up about half of the card. So it's another 16 gig. And then what do you do with the edit files? You know,
Yeah.
the stuff that you've edited.
Well, and the video is the big thing usually. That takes up a lot.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes that is a challenge for somebody who doesn't have the speed of, the upload speed they need, or generating a lot of data like you. I generate somewhere between 60 and 100 gig a month in data that I need to back up. So I can keep up with that. Now, when you first start Crash Plan and you have a large amount of storage like I did, it may take a year, it may take a long time for it to catch up. Once it catches up, then it's only backing up the changes that you tell it to. So you may want to tell it to only back up your most important stuff at first. So it will take a while, but again, if you have a lot of data like you have, Seth, you may have to come up with some kind of manual process where you take stuff off site, or some other form of thing like that. It is a challenge if you are generating more data than you can back up. But I think if you have a decent upload speed, you can probably do more than you think. It'll just take a while.
I don't. We've got some lag. I don't actually remember exactly how fast it is, but I know every time my son's watching Netflix, I can't work.
Yeah. So you don't have that. May be a download problem too.
And that might be an area to look into from an investment standpoint of just being able to get a little bit more bandwidth if it's possible, and it's not always possible.
But
I've got to talk to my financial department about that.
Well, I think also. I think looking just at Netflix may not be a good comparison, because I think a lot of internet providers will throttle Netflix. I mean, I think that's pretty well versed as to what they're doing to them. So
I have heard that pretty well. I have heard that, yeah.
But along those same lines, what we're talking about, the other thing to think about is somebody like Seth, who's generating a lot of data, or me with the podcast and the photos. I'm doing 60 gig or so a month. Is to be thinking about your local storage, and Don't be the guy or gal who, when they stick their memory card in from the wedding shoot and they get an error that says disk full. There is no excuse for you not knowing that disk was almost.
There's no excuse. You've got to know that before you go in.
Yeah. So you may not be as anal about it as I am, where I'm thinking 6 months out. So I'm looking at, and I just did a post here recently about it, where I looked at my drive and I see how much is left over, and I'm thinking I'm about 6 months out. And why 6 months for me? Because I'm going to get a 4-bay drive enclosure, which means I got to buy 4 drives and the bay. Okay, so 5 things. Yeah, I want to buy one a month, so I don't have to buy $500 worth of stuff all in 1 month. I'm going to buy one of those things a month, and then I have one buffer month in case I'm lazy and skip a month, or I shoot more than I think. So I want to be doing that at a minimum 6 months out.
Yeah.
Listen, who is it? Timothy? Yeah. And I hope you go by Tim. Tim Foster said in the chat, cloud can be expensive. Cloud's getting cheaper every day. And when you can buy a terabyte of data, terabyte of storage from Google for $10 a month, that's $120 a year. You'd have a hard time. I mean, okay, yeah, you can buy a physical drive for, you can probably get a 3 or 4 terabyte physical drive now for
about
$100.
that price.
About the same price, right? But you have to have the whole infrastructure around that, right? That drive just doesn't run by itself for the most part.
Right.
You need if you're going to store it locally, you need to have some redundancy on that, which means you need to have 2, and you need an enclosure to be able to do that. That Mediasonic enclosure for you, Mike, is a couple $100 probably.
I think the one I get is right at 180.
Yeah. So you're still
without drives.
Exactly, and you just got to fill the drives up. You still got to fill it up. So we're going to see a cloud storage war go on here over the next year or so. I mean, Google has already fired the shot across the bow by saying by dropping their prices. I think it's hard. And when you can get unlimited at Crash Plan for $60 a year,
unlimited. I have over 4 terabytes.
Yeah, that's half the price, and by unlimited means unlimited, right? You can store just as much as you want.
I have talked to the guys at Crash Plan. They came to our office on the other side of what I do for a day job, and they have a guy. I think at the time was over 40 gig of data, 4 terabytes. Of data. What did I say? 4 gig. I have 4 terabytes.
4 terabytes. Yeah.
I have 4 terabytes. This guy had well over 40 terabytes, and they're assuming he's backing up movies or something. They can't see what you're backing up, but they said, "Yep, we're truly unlimited." And I think their thought is no one dude can saturate what they're doing. I mean, you think about even this one guy who has 40 terabytes, and he's probably backing up stuff he shouldn't be backing up. His upload bandwidth is not enough that he's ever going to saturate them because they have so many customers that one person's not going to be able to.
Yeah, they're in petabytes at this point. Right? They don't.
And
it's so small.
Yeah, and Jim, I agree with what you were saying. I think it was the last show where you were talking about how Box and Dropbox eventually they're gonna go unlimited.
Yeah, I think so. It'll have to be that way, and it won't matter, right? Their storage costs will be so cheap. Now the chat room is reminding us that international is a different story, right? Our friends in Australia, they have caps, pretty severe caps at times too. The UK has some caps as well, and so there's places here in the United States that have caps. So it's one of those kinds of things. Yeah, you have to be creative in those environments if you have data caps. And I keep getting letters from Cox that says, hey, we give you 300 gig, and you're halfway through the month and you're already using 600.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I get that letter regularly.
Wow.
No caps, but they're reminding me, hey, this is what you pay for. So we absolutely have to take that into consideration when you're thinking about your backup solutions. So,
well, that's why I always, when they talk that they're gonna Blu-rays and DVDs are gonna disappear, there are way too many parts of this country that cannot download that type of movie.
Or
way
too
many.
Speed.
Yeah.
At that speed. Although
or a capped.
If you're a cap person, if you're someplace where there's a cap, you got to find you're going to have to do a manual process like Tim's doing now, where he takes a hard drive and takes it off site. I mean, it's really your only choice.
The other option though, there are fire and waterproof hard drives as well. That I have a IOSafe Solo here that.
Is it theft proof?
No, I could bolt it down.
You can bolt it down. Yeah.
If you could do something where you can make it theft, fire, and waterproof, then yeah. And think about where you're at. If you're in southern Louisiana, Florida, something like that, and you have hurricanes come through, when you go to leave, are you going to be able to get everything? So off-site, you don't have to worry about it. If it's something you can't take with you, or if you live in a tornado area where you may not have time to get everything out, is that stuff safe in that safe you're talking about?
Right.
Will you be able to find it?
Seth?
Yeah, that's it. No, I was actually going to ask, how much is that, fireproof hard drive? I was actually trying to look it up.
IOSafe makes them. The letters IO Safe makes those. They're about twice the price of a regular hard drive. Is generally what it is. So, but I have a 1 terabyte IOSafe Solo. Then they make a whole bunch of different kinds of products. They even make ones that are shockproof that sit inside a titanium shell that you could not only burn or drown, but you can also crush and drop, and you won't lose. They'll guarantee you won't lose your data on it.
You must be going to the same party that Tim's going to, because yeah, that's rough.
Was that in your back pocket? But they're fireproof, waterproof, right? And so mine sit in the basement. If the house burned down, it would fall on top of it, right? As the house burns down, the fire department would come. The basement would fill up with water. So it's one of those kinds of things. I don't have to worry about flooding here, but I am worried about a house fire. The data, I could get it back locally here if I needed to. I would hope. Now I move all my stuff to the cloud as well. I actually do 4 different backups with that, and that's. That's another one of the places that I back up to. So a good way to do it. Well, we've talked about backups a lot. We are going to quickly get to the end here. And Mike brought up a subject that I really, really wanted to talk about because I want to get it in the title of the show, Mike. I'll just be honest with you. Because it's a hot topic. And so you recently picked up something that kind of falls in the realms of photography, but it's gotten a lot of popularity. What are you going to pull out of the magic Mike Howard desk?
Okay, so I'm going to do a little lead up to it. So, of all the photography related stuff I've bought recently, this was the one I was the most excited about getting. I could not wait for this to come in the mail, and it's something I was watching behind the scenes Deadliest Catch episode that just recently aired, and I don't know if you're a Deadliest Catch fan, but I am, and I'm talking about all this camera gear they put on there. I think they do over $2 million,
thousands of dollars, right? Over the
millions of dollars,
millions of dollars.
So like one camera that the camera guy is handling is over $8,000. And they've dropped them overboard whenever they were, washing around, and boom, there goes one overboard. Oops. So those things. But watching that, I would freeze frame that every once in a while and say, Jill, look, my wife's name is Jill. Look over there. There's one of those things. I got that same thing. So they're using it. And what that is a GoPro. And I have, what's this here? I got the GoPro Hero 3 Plus.
And what are you using that for?
So for a lot of things. So it does video.
During our podcast, he mounts it on his head.
You should. First-person shooter.
So that memory card I showed earlier, the 64 gig little bitty thing, goes in this. And I was out shooting a softball game, and what I did was have my main camera with that big lens you might be able to see behind me, and I was doing the action shots with that. I stuck this thing with one of the accessories I bought in the dugout, and it takes 12 megapixel images. So I had it on what they call time lapse, taking an image every 10 seconds, and just stuck it into the dugout, and on the fence or something like that. And then whenever it was done, at the end of the game, I just downloaded and had taken 500 photos or whatever it was of 12 megapixels, and of course a lot of them are junk, but a lot of them are pretty cool, and you can make a little time lapse video with it. It also shoots video. It'll do 1080p at 60 frames a second, 120 frames a second at 720p. And then all the way up to 240 frames per second at 480p, I think that's what that is. But it will also shoot 4K video, but only at 15 frames a second.
And about 3 seconds of it.
Yeah.
Well, the battery will wear out, and it can do 2K at 30 frames a second.
Yeah.
So not bad. The one I got is the top of the line one they have, and it is $400. It comes with the waterproof case, and it comes with another case. And the accessories are not that bad. It's a pretty rugged thing, as I just dropped it. The accessories are not that bad, and it does not have an LCD, so you can see that there's no way to see what you're aiming it at. But it has its own Wi-Fi hotspot. So what you do is you take the app that's for this thing, and you can then see it on your phone. So I will have it, as I position it, I'm watching the live video on my phone from the GoPro.
Yeah, so that's the monitor.
Yeah, that's the monitor.
Your phone is the monitor for it.
And that is pretty cool. And there were some competitors with Hero. What happened to them? We don't even know their names anymore. They're not around.
Yeah, no, GoPro definitely is dominating the market at this point. Sess, with your wedding photography, have you ever thought of having a couple GoPros loaded up?
I have.
People, have you done anything like that?
I have. No, I haven't done it, but I've thought about it, and I promise you, I was in Sam's today. Every single time I pass a GoPro, I think about buying it right then and there.
Yeah.
I think about it, but I don't know what I would use it for. That's the problem.
I'm going to become a surfer dude.
I've got ideas.
Well,
I've got ideas, but we gotta. Yeah, I gotta get approval.
The evolution of the okay. So back in the old days at weddings, we used to put those disposable cameras on the table. Right. Everybody take pictures. Blah blah. Now you can employ everybody's cell phone, and they can. There's wedding websites where you can register there. You take pictures, and they automatically upload to that site for the guests. But I would think it would be cool to have one or two GoPros where someone's, like in Mike's case, someone is wearing it,
through the wedding,
throughout the whole deal, and it's taking a picture, one picture a minute, right? Mike, I assume you can set that interval to
whatever you want.
Every 10 seconds, it could be 1 minute or whatever. So every minute a picture is being taken, and so how interesting would that be, Sess, to have someone's perspective of the entire wedding? They don't know when they're taking the picture and when they're not. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, you probably delete 80%. you probably delete 80% of them, but boy, you might get some really good pictures.
You
too.
might.
Like
Yeah.
get some moments there. Yeah, it's a cool idea, and there are people doing all kinds of funky, crazy, smart things with these GoPros, and I like a piece of that. I'd like a piece of
Yeah.
that.
What else have you seen, Seth, that you like? If you had one, what else would you use it for? You think?
You know, I've seen things as like you know, just kind of putting a couple of GoPros along the aisle. You know, so while she's walking down, I've seen where someone might put something on the bride's dress, and you can kind of see the people's reactions as the lady's walking by, and you know, yeah. So you know, putting it on the officiant, the preacher, pastor, whoever's running it. I know that the couple that my most recent couple wouldn't have gone for that. Like, I don't want that on the dude's head in my pictures. But I don't know. You might get that wild and crazy couple that's down with it.
Oh, I'm sure somebody would want it.
And there are a ton of
Yeah.
accessories. I have the clamp thing here that you can clamp it on just about anything. You put the GoPro up here.
Yeah,
I've got
That looked good on a wedding dress.
yeah. I've got the suction cup thing that is rated for 150 miles per hour. So
Yeah.
that's
And
pretty
see,
cool.
let me see the thing that I do want to do. Oh, go ahead. You have
headband.
another thing in your hand.
I got the headband.
Yeah. See, that's what the preacher could wear. The whoever's running it.
And then I have the telescoping thing that you stick it on the end and you just kind of hold it out. Like that.
I've definitely seen people use that.
So you see a lot of skiers
Yeah.
and people do that. Now I got the app pulled up. I don't know if this will come through the video, but there is the live feed. I'm actually got the GoPro sitting right in front of me, feeding the screen right
And
in
I
front of
can
me.
see your computer. Yeah.
So if I press record, it would start recording right now, and I can do all that. I can turn it off. I can turn it on. I can change the settings and everything with it, and then record it from there.
That I like. That's convenient.
Yeah, that is very cool. So I mean, and for me now, I have this clamp that I've used for a bunch of different things. I use it for lights. I use it for cameras or whatever. But what I would want to do is kind of behind the couple, if there's a structure or something, not behind the couple, but behind the officiant or whatever, looking onto the couple. I'd like to put one up there and just have it shooting down. Because I think that would be cool to have them and then have the crowd, of observers in the background. I think
that would
that'd
be a great shot. So
pretty
from
cool.
above coming down, right?
Yeah.
And so
exactly.
Oh, that would be a great shot.
That's
You
what I
never
want to
get
do.
You never get that that experience, right? Nobody.
That's why I want it. That's why I want it. And plus, I also want a drone, but we don't want to get into that.
Well, somebody already brought that up. Somebody brought that up.
Is it in there?
The other Jim says there'll be drones in the fall.
It would have to be really.
I
fun.
promise you. Well, you know what? There are some that are actually very, very quiet. I think what the Phantom, they came out with a new one, and it's fairly quiet.
You've done a lot of research on this, apparently.
I've seen some things. I might be thinking about making this purchase.
He does
with
work for the
tax money.
government.
That might be coming soon.
And speaking back to my soccer days, I'd love to put one of these in like the corner of the goalie box, the goal, and get these are wide angles, so there's no zoom or anything like that. Real zoom on this. I would love to stick one right there in the corner and get action from the goalie.
Yeah.
See, now I like that because my son's a goalie, so I could see myself doing that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That is definitely cool. Yeah.
Mike, about how much video? Okay, so let's go back. How much video would you, if you just started that thing, turned it on, regular 1080p? How long?
The battery would run out before the card ran out.
And how long do you think that'd go for?
If I'm running solid video, it'd probably be less than an hour. I've never done that, but the battery is pretty weak. You can get a bigger battery, and then you end up with a little bit bigger case. There's a ton of accessories for this thing, and one of them is you get what's called a floaty back. So if you're going to be doing anything in water, there's one that has a little flotation device in the back of it, because
so if it falls, it'll float.
Yeah, this thing will sink to the bottom if you drop it.
Yeah. The best accessory that I would want is a wall plug, AC power, so you could just plug it up and let it run.
That would be pretty cool. Yeah.
That's what I would want.
I was just watching a video today of somebody that used one of these GoPros. It was, I think, a Red Bull bike challenge. These guys, he had it on his helmet, obviously, and he was coming off a cliff on a bike. And I'm telling you, I sat there looking at it on my phone, and I was cringing the whole way down this thing he was doing it, because one small move and he was falling 1,000 feet to his death.
Yeah. So that's what you see a lot of this use on Red Bull
extreme
type stuff.
Yeah.
But there is a use for it outside of that. You know, Seth talked about his
Definitely.
uses, and I talked about mine with with soccer, where I can do that, or softball. You know, there's uses in the in outside of the extreme sports.
Yeah. No, I think there's a million different. I mean, just in this conversation, we've kind of discovered, some different ways, and that's what I'm kind of hoping as you're listening to this conversation, you're thinking about this GoPro and you're thinking, oh, what would I use it for, right?
Yeah,
What
the software that came with it has a lot of potential, but it crashes on me all the time.
Really?
So it's got some drawbacks there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It could be the PC that you're working on. Just kidding.
Oh.
Wow.
Are we going to start this now, Seth? Is that what we're throwing down
It's
right
the
now?
end of the show, right?
You got three PC guys against one
I
Mac
know.
guy. Is that what you really want?
Wow.
Not right now. No, I don't want to. I'm not going to fight that battle today.
That's awesome.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So Mike, 3 different prices for these, right? There's a white and a silver and a black or something like that for these.
I can't remember which one's the middle one. It might be the silver one. The Hero 3 Black is the latest one. It's $400. You need to look at it, and what the specs are slightly different between each model and what they can do and some of the frame rates and resolution. This one does come with a remote. If I can pull it out of the little package, it comes with a little remote included. I really personally see no need for this remote since I have the app.
Right. If you have it on your phone, there's no need for that.
Yeah. So I don't remember the spec.
Does that collect, I guess, through Bluetooth then?
To be honest, I don't know. I don't think it's Bluetooth. No. I think it's using the I don't know. I don't know what it's using.
Scratch that part of the conversation.
Punt.
But the cool thing also is the accessories you can get, and the accessories are not that expensive. I think the ones I showed you, the headband was probably the most, and it was $30. Most of them were well under $20. Some of them is in the $10 range.
Mm-hmm. And
So-
they send them in these. They sell them in these different bundles too. Do they still do that, right?
Yeah.
With different accessory combos.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, if you go to the Amazon, so go to theaverageguy.tv/Amazon and then search for GoPro. So I'm looking right now that Hero 3 Plus Black Edition is $399.
Yep.
The white edition is $199, and then they have a silver edition in the middle, $299. So that's kind of straight no package deals. And then they've got some other, you can go through, and they've got some other options there. Mike, that Jaws clamp mount that you have there, $40 for something like that.
Okay.
The head strap and mount with the quick clip is $20, so $17.90.
This was $40.
That is $40.
Okay.
You were only off by 10. You're only off by 10.
Did you pay attention when you were buying that thing?
You just went all willy-nilly and bought
He's just
everything.
throwing crap in the cart.
We had ice. So for people who don't know, Atlanta had Ice-Mageddon here. It was the end of the world where we had the 2 inches of ice. And one of my guys who works for me has a Jeep, and he drove in one day with a GoPro strapped to the hood of his car. And when he showed up, I said, "What is that?" And he said, "It's a GoPro." So we immediately came into the office and downloaded that and watched this video of his drive-in. Riveting TV. But right after he left my desk, I got on Amazon and ordered everything. So
I'm sure you did.
I think I was ordering off of a video high.
But I could see that in cars in the future. Everybody has that.
TV/Amazon. That'll when you go to buy those impulse buys.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, you weren't joking. There's a lot of
That's what you said.
Seth, they have a Wasabi power battery pack and a charger. I guess
Wasabi powered.
Wasabi.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Actually, that's whenever I buy backups, it ends up being Wasabi because they're always Amazon Prime, and I'm a Prime head.
Yes. Yeah. $23 for that battery pack for two for the GoPro, and that would fit the current GoPro version that Mike has there as well. So yeah, Mike's right. They've got a lot of different versions.
I'm actually gonna have to look at this now. I like the idea of putting in the soccer goal.
There you go. Yeah, and realistically, as far as there are a couple things that I was thinking about. My next investments, and it's probably going to be a GoPro because it's not terribly expensive, and you don't have to have somebody man it like I would have a drone, which I still will be buying. Points.
You're gonna get that drone, aren't you?
I'm gonna get
the wedding drone. Just wait till that crashes in the bride's hair.
You know what though? But speaking of that type of stuff, as far as people using it, FCC or I think they've been kind of fighting with airspace and you can't fly these things for profit and whatever. I've been kind of following that, and it was looking bad for a while. Like you wouldn't be able to fly these things at all. You'd get arrested if you did. But now it's actually kind of leaning the other way towards being a little bit more lenient and letting people use these things. So I'm excited about the wave. I'm gonna just kind of wait until maybe some of the prices come down, and we'll see.
Well, $199, you could get away with the $199 version.
No, he's talking about the drones, I
I'm
think.
talking about
The drones. Oh, okay.
Yeah, the GoPro. That's gonna happen.
That's happening. That's
I'm gonna
going
make
on.
that
Just go to Amazon and get one of their used drones. They'll be cheap.
Well, some cool ways of doing that. In fact, if you get a GoPro or you've got a GoPro, I'd love to see some of the video or audio or pictures that you're making with it, and we'll post those. I put a GoPro post together. You can send those to me. Jim at theaverageguy.tv. It'd be just kind of fun to see what you're making out there with it, if any of our listeners. I'm not sure my demographic. I'm not sure that many of you have GoPros yet. I'm not feeling like that's necessarily. I mean, Mike might be an exception, and Sess as well. But if you've got a GoPro, I'd love to hear from you. Send me an email, Jim at theaverageguy.tv. Love to hear how you're.
You know what I want to do with it? I want to stick it in the refrigerator and capture everybody as they come. I think that would be a cool look.
It would be a good video.
Be a cool look.
Hey,
Yeah.
and speaking of, I have a link that I'm going to share with you. You can do it whenever you want. But there is hold on, let me close that. There is a video with the GoPro video with a Subaru car, a remote control car. Did you guys see it?
No.
Oh my goodness! It's a remote control car, and this thing is just kind of flying around turns and stuff. It's a long video, and they just did it with a series of GoPro cameras. Let me see. I put it in the group chat for the Google Hangout. I probably should have put it on the. Yeah. Let me go over to the chat here. Boom. Okay, so it's on the Average Guy chat right now, live. And you can check that out whenever. Maybe show note worthy. We'll see.
Or in the post show. We do have one thing I want to go over in the post show and Crash Plan.
Yeah, we'll stay around a little bit for the post show. And so since you're late, you're obligated to stay for the post show.
I've got to.
You are staying for the post show. Maybe I can. Well, I can show that you can't broadcast videos live on.
It's a good point. That's a good point.
On Hangouts, but
they'll boot you.
They'll ban you for 2 weeks. Like
no,
I got banned.
no,
you have experience.
Physically, you can't do it. Yeah, I mean, I guess you can. Not the way I broadcast. It doesn't work. We could share the video, but they wouldn't be able to hear it or see it. So we'd be making comments, and they'd be like, "What? What's
going on?" Yeah.
Gentlemen, anything? We're kind of at the end of our hour of doing this. Any other thoughts around photography tech? It always goes so fast, but any other quick thoughts around photography tech that you want to throw in?
Well, I think some of the other things are some of the basics. Just make sure you always have enough batteries if you're going to go away, or a charger. Those are some of the small things. Something to clean the lens with. Otherwise, you wind up with spots in your pictures. Some of those are the small little things that don't cost a lot, which pay big dividends.
Yeah, and we didn't go over one of the main things that all photographers are going to need is some type of software to edit. And I think for a lot of us that is either Lightroom or Photoshop or both. And if you can't buy outright Photoshop anymore, so I would recommend looking at the Photoshop bundle, the photography bundle that Adobe has now. Subscription price of $9.99 a month, but you get full Photoshop and Lightroom, and every time they do an update, you get the update. That's a pretty good deal. If you don't want to go subscription route,
wow.
Yeah, if you don't want to,
you no longer have to go the full $40 a month, and
right, you don't have to go to full $40 a month.
They have done that.
Yeah, they got a lot of backlash because you are now having to pay a monthly fee. So if you still don't want to do a monthly fee, then you can get Lightroom, and I would always recommend Lightroom. I love Lightroom and Photoshop Elements, and you can still buy those two outright. You don't have to do a subscription on them. But really, look at the Photoshop bundle for $9.99 a month. I mean, that's pretty reasonable. If you're a serious photographer and you're spending thousands of dollars on your gear and all this other stuff, $9.99 a month for that powerful software is not that too much to ask.
Have all of you guys gone on to that then? Is that Sess? What are you using?
I have not yet. No. But I will. The only thing is right now I just don't feel a need to upgrade. I've been working on my stuff for a little while, and I will. I'm gonna feel that itch. I just don't right now. I'm on Lightroom. I have Photoshop that I do for other stuff, and probably towards the middle, maybe the end of 15. I don't know. It might be the beginning of 15. I might jump on the subscription. But the thing is, I wouldn't just be getting the photographer bundle because I need the video too.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of on the fence now to where if I want to do Premiere Pro, which I've been using for years, or if I want to do Final Cut, because I really like the way Final Cut feels right now. And my Premiere Pro, I don't know. That's where all my plugins live that I paid for. So
Well, are they updating Final Cut though? I mean, I know I've heard from some people.
Yeah.
I know Leo Laporte talked about it, that he's going to switch all his stuff
Premiere?
over to Premiere.
To Premiere, and
Yeah.
and I really like Premiere. Final Cut X, they've been, it's 10, but they call it X. They've been doing little supplemental updates. I don't know if they're going to do a big update sometime soon, but it runs pretty nice. I've gotten to play with it, and I was like, this is kind of cool. So.
Well, Jim, I do use the Lightroom Photoshop bundle, and Adobe just released, and we talked about it on our show this past week, Lightroom Mobile, so you can upload the pictures, the smart previews, up to that Creative Cloud, and then edit the pictures on an iPad. So I like Lightroom. I switched over to it probably at Lightroom 2. And it is a great software for cataloging all your photos, which that's probably one, we didn't talk about this at all. Really, probably one of the best tools is make sure you tag your pictures when you take them. Because you think about how many pictures you have that you may not find, and if you just take the time after you take a picture to put a couple of tags in there, whether it's your kids' names and a quick location of where it is, in a couple of years you could find any of those pictures that you want. So that's one of the small little things, and Lightroom is great for that.
And I tell you what, Photoshop and Bridge, Jim, you're familiar with Bridge probably, or are you? Are you?
No.
You work with Bridge, yeah. Well, Bridge is basically a cataloging program, and it doesn't. You couldn't ever really buy Bridge standalone, but it kind of came with Photoshop. Extended, yeah. So it's basically Lightroom satisfies that part of the need when you're just using Photoshop, because in Photoshop all you do is edit, But in Bridge you can kind of catalog and you can kind of store and do these tag words and things like that. Sorry, but in Lightroom it satisfies that need. So I don't know. Lightroom is such a great investment. I mean, I was mad at myself that I waited so long to get out of Photoshop. I mean, I still use Photoshop a lot, but I use Lightroom for any job. Most of my jobs don't even touch Photoshop unless it's some very specific stuff.
Sure.
And we hear that a lot from people who've gone to Photoshop is they will spend 90% of their time in the Lightroom, do 90% of their work, and really only go over to Photoshop to do some of the heavy layered stuff or the heavy cloning, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
If you are a composite guy, you're taking multiple images and blending them into one, then you're living in Photoshop. But if you're not like that, then a lot of people are going over the Lightroom. Lightroom is also much cheaper than what Photoshop was. Photoshop was what, $600-700, where Lightroom
$150, I think.
And they
or
might
$80 if you're a student.
Yeah. So it was very affordable, and then the updates were not that expensive. So I think even if you're not we're going to call Sess a pro. Even if you're not a pro like Sess, if you're an amateur like Tim and I, that Lightroom is a very good investment in your hobby.
Yes,
for sure. Yeah, I wish they had a podcaster's package where you could get
hey, how about that?
Audition, and maybe even, and this would never happen, but get the Final Cut or the whatever. What's their video editing?
Premiere Pro.
Premiere
Pro.
So
and After Effects, which is
yeah. So I do have that bundle, and I got the educator discount, so which is I think makes it $25 a month. But so I have the full thing, and the one thing I say about Premiere Pro where I have a trouble is it does not handle variable frame rate videos, and that's a big problem for me because what we do here is variable frame rate, and what it will do is your audio video will be out of sync, and there is no way to correct it. Even if you correct it in the beginning, by the time you're at the end of an hour-long show, you're 30 seconds off. I mean, it's just horrible.
That's horrible.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
What file type are you running, if you don't mind me asking? When you get it into Premiere, what are you using that's making that variable?
It's the software that's recording is recording at a variable frame rate.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
And it's a known thing with Photoshop. I mean, with Adobe Premiere, and they say use professional gear, and so it's a little bit of a
You're like, thank you.
That's
That was so
Adobe saying,
helpful.
"Hey, we're bigger than you, so figure it out." You know.
Well, there's a big battle going on because people are saying, hey, hold on a second, and I'm not an Apple guy. I typically don't like Apple, but one of the things that's producing some of the most video is an iPhone. Tons of people are producing video with iPhone, and the iPhone is recording, I think, in variable frame rate, and therefore Premiere will not handle that.
You know what? That's a good. Okay, challenge accepted. I'm gonna edit some some phone video. I'm gonna see what I can do.
So, anyway, hopefully they'll eventually address that. I have to do some roundabouts, but Premiere Pro is a powerful program, and Seth talked about After Effects. These are stepping off a little bit from a photographer, but if one of the things that more and more photographers are getting into, because DSLRs have it, is video, and After Effects is just amazing.
All right, with that seal, we'll close the live show, so to speak. Guys, hang around for a little bit. We'll do some post show. We want to talk about Unraid. So, if you're listening to the recorded version of this and you're like, Unraid, I wanted to hear about Unraid. Well, you should have come to the live show because you can only hear the post show, the live show. So you can join us out here every Thursday night. Just about everyone. I do about 50 out of 52 weeks a year. Thursday night, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at the Average Guy. TV/live. Just a couple of housekeeping items. One, we mentioned the Amazon link, and thank you for using that. We refund all those dollars back into what we call the Tech Scholarship Fund. And so if you'd like to try an item out, and it's around that $100 price range, you let me know. I buy it for you and ship it to you. It's better if it's on Prime, by the way, but I buy it and ship it to you. It needs to be on Amazon. I have to be able to buy it on Amazon. And then you get to test that out, and you'll write a little post for us, or you can come on the show and talk about it. And then when you're done, you get to keep it. You know why I did that? Because I got sick of begging vendors for crap, right? I got so sick of that podcasting model where it was like, calling Western Digital or calling these guys, can you send us? And you got to beg, and sometimes they want the stuff back, and that's just so messy. Let me buy it for you. Let me send it to you. You get to keep it. Any photo gear that fit, GoPro.
GoPro's on Amazon.
You know, that's what I was thinking just now.
Seth, I could probably get a lot of mileage out of your GoPro.
Hold on a second. Seth and Tim, you're committed to JPEG to RAW's affiliate link.
Here's the battle.
I just put a TD on that link, so.
Here's what, Tim did. No, here's what I'm thinking. Maybe the average guy scholarship fund buys Seth's a GoPro, and then he talks about how he's used it, and that ends up on the average guy from a tech perspective.
I bet he would do that.
I bet I would.
I bet I would.
Let's think about that. That might be kind of fun. I think that's a good tech. I think that GoPro is kind of an average tech guy thing, and it's definitely a home gadget geek thing. And maybe we could even share some of that across JPEG to RAW and Gadget Geek. So it'd be kind of fun. Let's think about that. That might be very cool. And so thank you guys for purchasing on Amazon, theaverageguy.tv/Amazon. And then one final announcement, we've moved Cyber Frontiers to its own feed, and that's when clapping and cheering needs to happen. So if you've noticed, Christian hasn't been around for a while. He's been very, very busy at the University of Maryland. And we catch him every once in a while to be able to do Cyber Frontiers. So big data, cybersecurity, all kinds of smart stuff. I walk away from that podcast, guys, head spinning. It's some pretty good stuff that he does on there. We just had one of his professors at University of Maryland on the show for Cyber Frontiers 3. That is going to be coming out here shortly on the feed. I am going to drop, if you're a faithful Home Gadget Geek listener, I'm going to drop that in the feed one more time. So you just have to listen to it one more. I haven't gotten any negative feedback, so I don't think you guys are not liking it. But one more time in the Home Gadget Geek feed, just so you get used to it, and then you'll never see it again. Head over to theaverageguy.tv/live. Look in the right-hand column, and all the feeds that you'll ever want, iTunes, RSS, or Stitcher, are available right there. Windows Phone in the new update is having some trouble with RSS feeds, and you'll need to copy those in manually if you're a Windows Phone user, so you can go out there and grab the RSS and bring it in. If you use any of the podcatchers, Pod, Beyond Pod, Dogcatcher, Tim, what do you use?
Downcast.
Any of those are available, including I don't know if it's available in the store yet, in the iTunes or in the music store. Definitely available in iTunes. You can get it out there. So available just about in any place. You can head out to the site and get it and download it now as a separate podcast. So we'd like you to be able to do that. I'll backdate the 1 and 2, so those will show up in the feed here shortly. Actually, they're actually in there right now. I already did it. And so, see, just like that, man, that's how I work. Bam, by the time you got it, through the magic of time shifting, it's already done. And so, who said you can't time travel, right? So check that out, Cyber Frontiers, and some really good. Christian is just doing some amazing work there at the University of Maryland. So super proud of him and all the things that he's doing. He's also working for Gallup now, which is really cool. I have these employer conversations with him all the time now, which is kind of weird to be his manager, which is kind of fun though. I'm enjoying doing that. He's doing a great job for Gallup. We'll be back next Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, here at theaverageguy.tv/live. Stay around for the post show. We're going to cover some Unraid. Thanks for coming out. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
I am jealous. I'm thoroughly jealous, Mike, of your lighting setup. Are you still using those jugs?
No.
Oh, that's a loaded question.
Don't talk about his jugs.
I am
on my
still
program.
a big fan of jugs.
I purposely did not say it in the show. I was thinking about it the whole time.
I thought it would have been good in the show. This might even make the show. This has been pretty good. So
Okay, so a backup did kick off, so I just paused
yeah,
it.
there we go.
See, there you go. Hey, prime example. It slows
Let's see
down.
Maybe. Yeah,
Let's see if my video gets any better.
it should. I thought maybe when you were in there, you'd kick something off. Other Jim was asking what Jimmy Drive is, and so Jimmy Drive was this. Mike and I don't.
Just another
hold
online
him.
backup.
Yeah, it's another online backup. But the guy who sells it, Mike and I don't hold in the highest esteem. He's kind of he's an interesting guy, to say the least. So
He has his show's a lot more popular than mine, so I'll give him that. But yeah. So, but
anyways, we'd like to give Seth a hard time.
Yeah, that's all right.
Since I'm not using the jugs anymore, I actually have an umbrella.
There he goes, talking about his jugs.
I have an umbrella here, that I had for my lighting, and I have two. They're daylight balanced flood LEDs from Lowe's that you would like attach to the outside of the house. 2 flood LEDs outside the house pointing through that. So that's giving me the light.
Cool.
And then I'm just adjusting.
Blinded by the light.
So I got rid of the jugs, and then of course I made the camera.
You went with umbrellas. You went with the same umbrellas I'm using, right?
I don't know. These are umbrellas I've had for a while, so I don't know, they're probably not the same. I think I got the same socket, that cowboy socket.
Yeah, the Cowboy Studios. If you're looking for an inexpensive way, Dave McCabe hooked me up this Christmas as a Christmas gift. He sent me some Cowboy Studio lights. Less than $80. I got 3 lights in it. I have 2. I have mine mounted to the ceiling as well, and they point down. I mean, look at the difference, right? This is the difference lighting makes. Look at that.
Wow.
So there's the lights off, and there's the lights on. I mean, I can't believe I used to podcast this way. This is terrible.
You really were like that?
Wow. Well, it wasn't
You were
quite
a
this
radio
dark.
podcast. You didn't have to be bright.
Well, it wasn't. Look at Mike Howard.
There's me.
Wow.
Well, but Mike, I still have my lights on that I used to podcast with. But anyway, so for
mine's on
$80, you can add some nice lighting to your setup. Seth, somebody was asking you what camera are you using? Yeah,
and I just responded. It's just the eyesight. It's the attached to the Mac, to the iMac. So yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. And you're still using the Blue Yeti.
Yeah, it's never let me down.
It's done a nice job.
I might end up getting something else if I have a problem, but I just haven't had a need. So yeah.
No, it was good. You don't have that noisy of a room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I have down here, it's so noisy. The TV is playing behind me, and so for now, my Yeti sits on the shelf, and I just take it with me when it's my traveling mic sometimes. Although you can't beat these ATR 2100s for traveling. They're so light and you break it.
Yeah, because these things are heavy.
Yeah, this is actually
you could kill somebody with those things.
You could throw a Yeti at someone and they're done.
Launch that out of a cannon? Are you kidding me? It's like a 102 round. Boom!
Hey, I noticed you have a lot of Google Plus people. Is that the same person though? Oh, maybe it's the same person. I just see a lot of Google Plus logos hanging out. Yeah.
And this mic is actually cheaper than
the Blue Yeti.
Blue Yeti, yeah.
Yeah, not much.
Are you all using the same one?
Yeah.
I think so. This is the one Mike recommended to me. So says you're out of the loop again.
I'm the minority. Who knew?
Yeah, that's why you use a Mac.
Wait, what is that
Wow.
mount you have? Damn, what mount do you have there?
You had to go there, didn't you?
Okay,
Wait.
so the mounts, it's actually
Not you, Sess.
Oh well, forget you.
You got the old school mic. I didn't care about that one.
Yeah, I've had this thing for forever. So yeah.
No, but you have some the nice pop filter and an interesting stand there too.
It's just because I do voiceovers and I've got to sound sexy.
Wow.
Voiceovers with that mic?
No, yeah, I really do. I
Nice.
do,
Yeah.
and not to sound sexy at all. It's for church.
Yeah.
Let's hear this.
What's wrong with sounding sexy at church?
Hey, it depends on what kind of church you go to, right?
So, Sess, for all the ladies in the crowd, let's hear your sexy voice.
What's your name? No, I'm just
That's
are
good,
there
man.
are there ladies on the tech podcast?
No.
There are lady geeks, I'm
There isn't
sure.
one. There's not one. No.
Not
In
a
fact,
one.
yeah, no,
No.
there's not one. I've never gotten an email from a gal. I've got nothing.
Well, you had probably more than a year ago. You had some girl on here every once in a while, but
Jackie.
Yeah, I guess Jackie. That was it.
It was from your. Yeah, I
Oh
pulled her over from
wow,
your
Jackie, yeah, Jack Kingsley.
Yeah,
Kingsley.
she used to come here all the time.
Mhm.
Yeah, what happened to her?
If there was
Don't
more
talk to
sex,
that guy. Thinks too much.
well, there's more sex white. I was about to say sex white.
That's what I heard. I heard that. Sex white.
If there's
This
more
is making
sex
the
white,
live
sex
show
Found
white.
my
Sure
alias.
now.
You found my alias. Hey, and just not to go too far on a tangent, but my first email address. Oh my goodness, Cess Machine. Right? Yeah, because I was cool. This is your first email address is always the one you
You were
regret.
cool. Yeah. It's always the one you remember.
Yeah. Then you got married, had a kid. That coolness is gone.
Yeah. Then got the referral, so I'm not that machine anymore.
That's it. It's over. Over,
Two
done.
kids.
That's it. Life's over.
Boy.
Life is over. That was good. That's a good segment. That might make the end of the show. That was
Okay.
That was pretty good. Yeah. That was pretty
Cess
good.
Machine, ladies. CES. Just kidding.
It's the Cess Machine.
My son is working at a car wash and he gets a lot of tips. So he has a wad of tips cash. And I told him, I said, hey,
Wow.
when we go to deposit that into the bank, what I want you to say is that you made this last night at your night job.
Oh boy.
He doesn't know. He didn't catch on right away what I
He
was
probably
referring to. So
They
That's a
sell
good thing.
wings there.
Mike, it's
They
a good
sell
thing he didn't
wings.
catch.
The wings are good.
Yep. The wing. No one ever goes there just for the wing.
No, it's the wings are good. They have really good wings.
where's this?
Hooters.
Anywhere.
They serve food?
Anywhere. They do. They do so.
Oh boy.
I guess I got to go back and order something.
I know.
No, actually, in Mike's case, that would be Jugs, not Hooters.
Oh wow.
Oh boy.
There's a place. There's a place in
Nicely
Virginia
done.
that my father-in-law took us, and by us I mean the whole family. Me, Delva, my wife, our kids, and she was not happy. They were wearing like little kilts, and it was like a Hooters parallel.
Twisted
Oh
kilt.
my goodness!
Twisted
I never heard
Kilt.
the end of that.
Yeah, I heard of that place, Twisted Kilt.
It was Twisted Kilt. It was. She was not happy.
Twisted kilt.
Yeah.
Everyone is going to look that up right now.
I just saw an article about them the other day. Because what's the name? It's a series of restaurants that are being called breastaurants. That was the article I read. Breastaurants.
Wow.
It was coined by some guy down in Texas.
You know what though? Anyway. There's a place called there's Hooters. Now there's a place called Peepers. What? No. I'm just
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
And we're done. We're done.
Let's bring it back.
On
Let's
to the
bring it
next
back.
subject.